and welcome to the More Knits podcast. This is a podcast about knitting and occasionally crochet. My name is Abby. I live in the northwest of the United States. I am a student and I love knitting, and I also love knitwear and pattern design whenever I can fit that in. I did not think that I was going to be able to film this weekend. It has been a crazy past few weeks. Really, it's been a crazy semester, but we are in the middle of finals, and I have about a week to go until I am done with the semester. So yeah, I was not planning on filming, but my next 2 weekends and weeks are just as crazy as my life has been recently, and I just kind of realized that this was the best time to film, so I'm making time to do it. And I love filming these, and I really wanted to, so here we are. I'm drinking tea. I usually drink coffee. It's still steeping, but I love coffee. I also love tea, so it just kind of depends. Usually I film these in the morning, and it is the afternoon today. It is a lovely Saturday. It's gorgeous weather outside, and I've just been happily knitting and getting ready to do a lot of studying and writing papers and finishing up projects and a lot of other stuff that you probably don't want to hear about because it's boring. Not to me, but to you. So I just want to hop right in. Let's start with finished objects. I only have one, I think. Yeah, I only have one finished object this week. I have not been knitting a ton the past 2 weeks. Last week I did not knit at all. It's just been really crazy. Oh, my hair. My hair's doing some weird things. Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot of knitting, but I will show you what I've been working on, and I'm still loving all of my projects. So I think I was almost done with these last episode. This is episode 5, by the way. Forgot to mention that in the beginning. Welcome to episode 5 of More Knits. So I finished these Fabel Socks. This is using the Fabel yarn from Drops. And I think I was almost done with the second sock of this pair. So really I just focused on them one evening for like less than an hour and just knit the toe. I was so close to being done with them, but here they are. The ends are woven in. I have not wet blocked them yet, but I never do that with my socks because I just wear them unless I'm giving them away, or maybe they're lace or something. But if I'm just making a vanilla sock for myself, I don't go to the trouble of wet blocking them. But I did put them on sock blockers. Oh, my hair's driving me crazy today, sorry. Yeah, so these are just a pretty standard cuff down vanilla sock. Started with a 1x1 twisted rib cuff, a pretty short one because, I don't know, I just was tired of knitting ribbing, I guess, that day. A pretty standard length leg for me as well. I did a heel flap and heel turn and gusset, and then a rounded toe. And I really like the pattern of this yarn. It was a lot of fun to knit. I knit these basically in almost 1 week. I think I talked about that last time, that I knit these really, really quickly. But then I got busy with other projects, and the toe for this one just kind of was left to languish. But yeah, those are done. I'm really happy about them. It's warmed up super quickly here, so I don't know that I'm going to be able to wear those this season, but as soon as it starts to get chilly again, I will definitely be wearing those socks. I think that is wool and nylon, I believe, is the content. It might be superwash wool. It's probably superwash wool. And I knit them on US 1 2.25 millimeter needles, which is my standard sock needle. However, this hair. I put in, I ordered a pair of US 0 needles to try my socks because this is fine. It creates a fine gauge. I don't dislike it. But after walking for a while, I feel like I can start to feel the stitch definition a little bit on the bottom of my foot, and I don't know, I think I would just prefer a little bit of a tighter sock. So I'm going to try that out, and yeah, we'll see. I knit my socks at 60 stitches, not 64 stitches, so they're already like tight to my foot, but I think I would just like the gauge to be a little bit tighter. So, okay, done with those socks. I won't talk about them again. So I have 4 more whips to show you. One of them is another pair of socks, and I'm just gonna grab those. They're actually right here. So I showed these in my last episode as well, and I was really hoping to have them done by now, but they're not, and I don't think I did that much work on them since the last time I showed them, so this might be a little bit boring. I think I really just put in a few inches on the foot, but these are a pair of socks that I am designing. They are pretty simple. They are just a simple texture on the leg and the foot, and I'm so close to being done. I think I'm an inch away from putting in the toe, so I just need to focus on these and finish them. I loved knitting them. I did knit a very long leg, though. You can see where my heel is. I think this is an 8-inch leg, which for some people might not be that long, but for me, it's long. So I think I had great momentum with these, and I was loving knitting them. I wrote up the pattern. The pattern's basically written, and then I just I picked up the other socks, and I don't know, I've just put them down and haven't been working on them lately. So I do have one sock finished, which I have shown you before. And my favorite detail about these socks is that the texture goes all the way down to the tip of the toe. So I think typically with socks, the texture stops about right here where you start to put in the toe. But I just really liked the look of the texture going all the way down the foot. So one thing with these socks is that I'm actually going to change them, I think. So I've already written the pattern, and it was very nearly ready for testing. I just needed to finish knitting the sample, but I decided to change a fundamental part of the pattern. So I knit these with a German short row heel, which is a fine heel. I've knit this heel before. I've knit other short row heels on my socks before, and they're really easy to do. They're very simple. They're very clean looking. They fit in with really any design pretty well, and I just decided that they don't fit my feet very well, and I don't love wearing them. I much prefer a heel flap and gusset, which is this guy, because it just fits my foot so much better. It stays on better, it feels tighter to my foot, it feels nicer. I just like the heel flap and gusset heel much better. So I've decided to rewrite this pattern to incorporate a heel flap and gusset, because I've also heard quite a few people talking about how they prefer heel flap and gusset as well to a short row heel, and I feel like it's really easy to insert a short row heel into any sock pattern that you buy. It's not as easy to insert a heel flap and heel turn and gusset though, so I feel like I would rather write the pattern for for that. And then if you would like to insert your own short row heel into the pattern, if you prefer that, then it's really easy to do so. And I think I'm going to include instructions on how to do that in case you're new to sock knitting. But I do have the instructions for the short row written down in all of the sizes for both double pointed needles and magic loop techniques. So maybe I'll release 2 patterns, and one will have the short row heel and one will have the heel flap and gusset heel. I don't know, I haven't quite decided on that yet, but I will be knitting this pair again in different yarn, and I will be knitting these with a heel flap and gusset heel versus the short row heel. So that's what I've decided to do. I prefer that, and I've heard other people talking about how they prefer that as well. So hopefully that's the right decision to make. You never quite know. You're kind of just trusting your gut with stuff like that. But yeah, so this pattern will be coming out probably closer to the fall. I have a couple of patterns in the works that I will release closer to the fall, even though I'll be working on them this summer, just because I feel like not many people want to buy, you know, big shawls and socks patterns when it's, you know, really hot outside. But who knows? I like knitting socks in the summer, so maybe other people are the same. But anyway, so I'm slowly working on these. I'm almost done with that sample. I ordered some more yarn. This is, sorry, I didn't even talk about the yarn. This is Knit Picks Stroll Tweed. This is the Forest Heather colorway, I think is the name. Yep, Forest Heather. And it's a lovely yarn. I like the color, I like the tweed in it. But I don't think it's the pattern, or I don't think it's the yarn I'm going to recommend in the pattern, because it doesn't seem very sturdy to me. It's superwash wool. It does have nylon in it, but I feel like I'm going to wear a hole in these pretty quickly. And I might have already talked about that. But yeah, so I picked up some other equally as affordable sock yarn from Webs, or I ordered some, and so I'm going to try that yarn out, and I think I'm going to knit a second sample with a different heel for those. And then that pattern will be ready for testing. So I can never quite tell how long the process is going to take me to do all of these things, especially when I'm in school. Over the summer, I will not be taking classes, but I will be working full time, which I'm used to. So in the summer, it's kind of a breath of fresh air to just have extra free time. So I'll plan on doing a lot more designing as well as just personal knitting this summer. My voice is going out. I'm gonna take a sip of tea. Okay, so done with socks. Let's move on. And I actually have a crochet project today. It's not very exciting, and I am not in love with it, and that's not it. That's something else. But I'm going to share it with you anyway, because it's something I've been putting a bit of my time towards. So if you follow my Instagram, you might remember hearing about this, but I originally bought this Knit Picks yarn for my Tanya sweater. And I ordered it online, of course, and when I ordered it, I thought the colorway was different than what I actually got. And when I received the yarn, I was immediately like, oh, that's ugly. So I knew I was not going to be knitting my Tanya with that yarn, and I bought different yarn for that project. But here is the yarn, and it's getting a little bit blown out, I think. Let's see if that helps a little bit. So this is the colorway, and it's not ugly for a garment. I don't think that it is my style. I don't particularly love the colorway, but I wouldn't say that it's the ugliest colorway. I think what throws it off are the orange speckles, and the dominant color of the speckles is orange. So there's a lot of orange in it, which fits with the tones. It's just not my favorite color. There are also some purple and blue and a couple of black speckles as well. So this is the Knit Picks Hawthorne fingering yarn. I think the colorway is Jupiter. I bet I could be wrong about that. Just with the craziness of everything recently, I didn't take the time to really write out extensive show notes, but I will try to do that after I film this. Anyway, I'm dropping things. So I ordered 3 skeins of this. I had a lot of yardage. I have quite a few more skeins that I wound up. And I was trying to decide what to do with it. I was going to return it, but returning it cost about half of what the yarn cost. So I was like, well, I don't want to lose all of that money, and I'll figure out something to do with it. I'm not going to make a garment with it, but I can still use it. It's still nice yarn. It's, I think it's superwash wool. I think it has a bit of nylon in it. It's nice yarn. I just don't love the colorway. So what I decided to make with this is a bag, and I decided to crochet it, mostly because I want to spend the least amount of time with this yarn as I can while still making something that I will use. So I'm crocheting it, and this is what I have so far, and I think you can really see the colorway much better when it is worked up. And you can see it's just a lot of orange, and I don't know, it's not awful. I don't think it's ugly, it's just not really my color. So anyway, that's what I'm working on. I'm crocheting this bag. I'm not using a pattern for this, I'm just kind of freestyling it, just kind of going with whatever I felt like doing. So the way that the construction is worked up is I started with a really long oval with just single crochet. I'm not doing a great job of showing this. So I started with the oval, and that is the bottom of the bag, and then once I increased to the amount that I thought was a good size, I just continued working in the round without doing any more shaping. So this is where I'm at right now. I think it's about half the size of where it's going to be. And I'm using, I think it's called the linen stitch or the granite stitch, but I think it has several names to it. But it's where you chain 1 and then skip the next single crochet, and then you crochet into the chained space that you've made. So it gives a really cool effect. This is probably one of my favorite crochet techniques. And I'm working on it pretty slowly, but it's a really good project when I don't want to think about anything, and I also don't particularly want to knit. So that's what I've been working on lately. And I think it's just going to be a drawstring bag. I don't really know where I'm going with it yet, so I'll just kind of make it up when I get there. But this, I think I forgot to mention, this is going to be a project bag. So I really wanted like a sturdy kind of dense fabric, which this has given me, and I'm debating over dyeing it. I've never done any dyeing before, but I'm debating doing, dyeing it if I just can't stand the colorway. But I don't know. I don't hate it, again, but it's just not really my favorite color. And I'm using a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook, and it is an E crochet hook. So, yep, that is a crochet project that I'm working on, and I am keeping that in my crochet bag that I made. There's yarn falling out of it, but I made this a while ago. I've made a couple of these bags. This is a very loose, the fabric is really loose, and so it doesn't quite stand up. I mean, it does, but it kind of like falls over a little bit. But it's a great project to just, or it's a great bag to just stuff projects into, and yeah. I made another one, and I crocheted a lot tighter, and that one is a lot nicer of a basket. But anyway, yeah, so that's my crochet project. I don't crochet very often. I don't love it. But, you know, it's fun to vary it up a little bit, do something different than knitting if I just feel like I don't want to knit, which very occasionally happens. Okay, so I have a shawl and I have a sweater. So I'm going to start with the shawl because I have not knit very much on it. This is a shawl design. Sorry that I have so many designs that I'm working on right now. When inspiration strikes, you just have to cast on all the things. So this is a shawl knit out of Plymouth Select worsted, and I got this yarn in Seattle and it was a really great trip, and so it brings back it's fun for me to knit on. But I kind of got to a point where I had to make a decision and I had to do some math and counting and, you know, that kind of thing, which I think is fun. I just haven't been in the headspace to be able to do that recently with everything else going on with school and work and life. So this morning I finally sat down and figured all of that out, and I think I have the rest of the shawl planned out now. I had the stitch pattern planned out, I just hadn't really like figured everything out. So it's really big and it's really hard to show, especially because I should change to a larger cable. I just don't own a larger cable, so that's not actually gonna happen. But yeah, here you can kind of get an idea of the size. This is the middle of the shawl. There it is. This is a triangle shawl knit top down in worsted weight yarn, and you can kind of, yeah, you can see the texture. When I cast this on, I was loving texture and I just wanted everything to just have this like light texture, and I still love texture for sure. But that was the inspiration for the shawl, was just I wanted something big, cozy that I could throw on when it gets cold in the fall, that really has a lot of texture to it. So I'm loving working on this, and I think I have about 10 more rows until I knit the lace edging. It's kind of lace. I think I showed my swatch in another episode, but the edging is from, actually, what I've planned for the edging is going to, or rather is, a stitch from this book. It's a modified stitch pattern that I took from this book, which is the Japanese Knitting Stitch Bible. I'm sure you've heard of it. I think everyone owns it. I got it a few months ago, and it's just a beautiful book, so you should definitely buy it. But yeah, I'm really excited to keep working on this, and I'm still in love with it. I have my little squid progress keeper here, and I moved that up, so this is how much progress that I've made since the last time I podcasted, and all of that progress was made today. So I really haven't been working on this project, and you will see why in just a second when I show you my next project. But I'm still in love with it, and it was chilly this morning and the windows were open, and I had this shawl in my lap and it was keeping me warm, and it was a lot of fun to work on. But when the weather's really warm, I don't want this giant worsted weight shawl in my lap, so that's why I've not been working on it. But this summer I will finish that up, finish the pattern up, and I'm hoping to release it in the fall. And yeah, it doesn't have a name yet. I've just been calling it the Plymouth shawl after the yarn. But yeah, so I think that's everything except for my last whip. This is a sweater whip, and I didn't show this in my last episode, but I think I talked about it the episode before that, so episode 3. It is living in my French field bag, which I adore. Anytime I knit a sweater, it goes in this bag. Actually, kind of everything I knit goes in this bag, because I don't have many project bags, which I need to change. I'm changing because I'm crocheting one. But yeah, I adore this bag. I think as everyone does who owns one. Okay, this is the Granito by Joji Locatelli, who is an amazing designer. And I have knit a lot on this. So last time I showed it to you, it was just like the back panel. So it was just like a pretty small rectangle. I have knit the body, knit the neckline, done all of that shaping, separated for the sleeves, and I'm almost done with one sleeve. So it looks weird right now because it basically has no body, but it has almost an entire sleeve knit. But I'm going to show it to you. So all of the yarn is tangled, of course, as is my life right now. But this is what it looks like so far. So it looks like the body of a sweater, right? Like you can tell that it's a sweater, but it has this giant arm, which I'm so close to being done. I think I have a few more inches before I put the ribbing in, and I would really love to knock this out this weekend, but I don't think I'm gonna have time, just with everything else going on. But yes, I love this sweater so much. This is, yeah, I'm so in love with it. I've been knitting on this like crazy. It's kind of the only thing that I've been knitting on recently. And I knit all of this in about a week because I didn't do any knitting last week. So since we last talked, since I filmed my last episode, that's when I was like, all right, I need to pull this back out. I need to work on it. And I've just been loving it. So the yarn is recycled from a sweater that I thrifted. It was actually a sweater dress, I think. It was from Wilfred Free. So it was a pretty nice sweater, and the yarn is wool, alpaca, and acrylic. So it's not like the nicest yarn. It's not like luxurious yarn, but it's really soft. It feels nice. I think it looks great with this sweater design, and I'm loving working with it. So I'm really happy with it. I love this detail in the front here with the slip stitches, and it's also in the back, which it's right there on the sides. So yeah, I'm loving this so much. I just love knitting sweaters. I love knitting sweaters. It's my favorite thing. I love shawls, I love socks, I love other accessories, but sweaters I think will always be my favorite thing to knit. I love wearing them. I think that this is going to be my staple sweater. I'm going to wear this so much because it's lightweight, but it's very warm. Just like this sitting on my lap, like makes me warm. So it's very warm, yet it feels like a cloud. It feels so light, and you can tell the gauge is pretty big. I don't think it's so loose that I can't wear it without something underneath, so I think it will be fine to wear it on its own. But the gauge is, you know, it's pretty loose with how thin this yarn is. Because it's mystery yarn, hasn't come from a yarn company. I don't know exactly what the weight is, but I think that it is a light fingering. That's what it looks like to me. So there you go. So it is very close to a fingering, but it's just a little bit lighter, I think, than a true fingering or sock weight yarn. Because of that, I went down a needle size. So the pattern calls for a US 4, and I went down to a US 3, which is, so I'm knitting this on a US 3 3.25 millimeter needle, and I love the gauge that it's knitting up at. And yeah, so the reason I decided to do the sleeve first before knitting the body is I just kind of got bored of knitting the body. I don't know, I just had been knitting that was all I had been knitting on, and I was just like, I just want to do something else. I want to pick up stitches for a sleeve and knit a sleeve right now. And when I'm feeling motivated to knit a sleeve, I do not let that motivation go. I knit a sleeve. So that's what I did, and it's almost done, and I think that it's really helping me keep momentum on this project because even though I really, have just started, sometimes stockinette in the round can get really boring for me. So I think pausing the body to knit the sleeve was a really good idea because now I'm almost done with it, with the sleeve. Then I get to knit the body, and then once I've knit the body, I can knit another sleeve rather than knitting the body, finishing it, getting really excited to wear it, and then having to get through 2 sleeves consecutively. So I think that was a pretty good strategy, and I'm feeling really good about where the sweater is right now, and I'm beyond excited to wear it. I believe I'm going to finish it right around probably August or maybe September, because I will be working on a couple of other sweaters that I'm equally as excited about. Yes, 2 more sweaters. I will share more about those. I probably shouldn't have mentioned them because I don't have the yarn yet, but when I actually cast those on, I will share all the details and everything about those sweaters. So back to the sweater that I'm currently knitting, working on the sleeve. I've finished the decreases for the sleeve, so now I'm just knitting in the round, which is going very quickly. Except that I'm knitting these using, I think these are wooden needles or they're plastic. They feel like they're plastic coated wood. These are from Knit Picks. I got them a long time ago. They were a few dollars. And the reason I'm using these is because they're the only other needle really that I have that are size 3. So yes, I would magic loop these, but I don't have another cable. So I took the needles off of the sweater body because I'm using interchangeable needles to knit these. They're my ChiaoGoos, but I don't have another cable, so I can't just put my size 3 needle tips on another cable. I wish I could, because I would love to magic loop this with metal needles. It would go by so much quicker. But this is what I've been doing. It's kind of painstaking, but I'm really excited about this sweater, and I've just been doing it. I've just kind of been forcing myself to work on this. I have ordered a pair of fixed US 3 Knit Picks needles. So once those come in, I will be able to, I might be finished with the sleeve by the time that comes in, but I can work on the other sleeve with the, by magic looping. So anyway, yes, I don't mind the double pointed needles. I just don't like the material of the needles. I do have the other size 3 that I have is a 9-inch needle, and I don't know why I ordered a size 3 in 9-inch circulars, because I ordered them for socks, and I don't knit socks with US 3. So I don't know why I happen to have these. These are the ChiaoGoo 9-inch circulars. I did a lot of research about these, and a lot of people were saying that these were the best ones because they have a really nice sized needle tip. I knit probably about this much of the sleeve with these needles, and I just don't like them. They're slower. Really, they're slower than these wooden double pointed needles. They hurt my hand after a while. They're just really awkward for me still, but I pushed through, and I learned how to hold them, so I know how to hold them now. But after a while, that method of holding them started to hurt my hand, it started to hurt my wrist, and I actually hurt my wrist a week or two ago when I was moving some heavy boxes. And so it's kind of off and on been aching a little bit. So I'm trying to take knitting slow anyway. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of these. I think they really were created for people who find magic loop and double pointed needles a little bit cumbersome or a little bit, I guess, painstaking, but I love both magic loop and double pointed needles, so I'm glad I tried these because I think it's important to, or I think it's good to try new needles and try new techniques and really make sure that you are using the materials that fit, that work best for you. But I love double pointed needles, I love magic loop, so I don't think I'm really going to be working too much with the 9-inch circulars, but it was fun to try them. I know a lot of people were trying them a few months ago when they were kind of a lot bigger or a lot more popular. Yeah, I think that's really all that I am going to talk about today. So I feel like this podcast was a little bit clunkier than they have been in the past. But I am proud of myself for powering through and recording this weekend, even though I've kind of forced the time in. There's not really the time, but I've just kind of like forced some free time today to film this. So thank you so much for joining me. I did not mention where you can find me online at the beginning of the episode, so I will mention that now. You can find me on Instagram as more.knits, and you can find me on Ravelry as Abby Moreland. And I also have a Ravelry group called More Knits Podcast. I added the podcast to the title so that you could find it a little bit easier in the Ravelry search engine, so hopefully you have no issue finding that. But if you do, everything will be linked in the description box. In Ravelry, you can find show notes for this episode. I try to link to, or at least name, everything that I talk about. And you can also find those show notes in the description box below. So yeah, thank you again for joining me today, and I will see you again when I am not as dead, because finals will be over and I'll be moved and everything in my life will be a little bit slower, a little bit smoother. So thanks for sticking with me this week, and I will talk to you later.